far? Like, should I scoot a little?
You can, no, you're like great right there.
Okay, cool.
This is gonna look cool when I cut up the TikTok clips too, because you're like, I don't know, it just looks original.
Yeah. And I feel like the black and white's kind of cool.
Oh yeah, black and white's awesome. So, you know, there's like, I feel like podcast confidence is like the ability to just let there be silence and be okay with it. Like everyone feels the need to just be like, or jump into the next topic or just like move on to the next thing or try to fill the silence. But like if I ask you a question and you feel like, oh, I need to think about the answer, you can literally just be silent.
Because you can edit it to like make...
I'm not even going to edit it, but
Okay.
it's the mental of being like, this is about this moment, it's not about the audience. And like I realize that whenever I hyperanalyze, whenever I'm like talking to someone like you and I'm thinking, how is the audience taking this, then it's worse if I'm just like, hey, I'm having a conversation with Hannah. And if they like it, they like it.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't matter if they like it. Like I'm already succeeding because I'm having a good time with you.
Yeah.
And that's like how I start the show is I say my why behind the show. And so welcome back to the show, Respectfully Inspired. My why behind the show is to change how people measure success. So people usually measure success in terms of wealth, which is money, achievements, possessions. And I want to inspire you to measure your success in terms of soul wealth metrics, which is the quality of your relationships and the quality of your memories, which is why I try not to care about how the audience takes it. And I try to just, create a memory and create a relationship with you. So today I'm here with Hannah Geller. She's a musician of 10 plus years, which is crazy because you're not even that old.
Yeah, 21.
I would say that you create psychedelic rock music, but how would you describe?
I'd say kind of, yeah, psychedelic rock. My biggest influences are Pink Floyd, Tosh Sultana, Tame Impala. So kind of like that, those trippy like synthesizers, distorted guitar, all that stuff. So yeah.
I've got to say that your voice kind of sound. I don't want to use the word auto-tune because it's not like it's not like electric-y, like basic autotune, but your voice almost sounds like it has autotune. Like when you sing, you have like a crazy, like, it doesn't seem like a real sound that people can make.
Interesting. That's a big compliment. I love
Do you feel like that?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of just sing with a lot of air, and I feel like sometimes that kind of makes the tone unique, like the like I don't know, like
Quick flex.
yeah. But
I think it's great. I want to ask you something because we talked about this briefly before the podcast. You blew up for singing other people's music. You got millions and millions of views, but it didn't really convert into views on your own music. How does that make you feel?
Oh, just terrible. I mean, honestly, it's so... Sometimes I really wish that point in my life where I was 13 and was getting millions of views per video and like had 200,000 Instagram followers and getting like stopped in the mall for pictures or whatever. Like, I wish that part of my life almost didn't happen because I look at myself now where I actually make my own music and I put so much effort and I'm playing all these shows every single weekend and I just compare myself to how I was back then and I'm like, oh my God, I had it all back then. But now when I'm actually doing what I love and I'm doing what I feel like I could succeed in and I'm not even close to what I was back then.
Bro, it's so funny though. That is literally the message of the podcast. It's like you feel like you used to be more successful back then because you had more likes, more notoriety, more, I don't know if you were making money, but the literal numeric metrics were all better back then. So you feel like you're more successful. But the truth is, your life is probably, if you measured your life by your relationships and your memories, your life would probably be better now.
Oh, absolutely.
Better friends. You're actually doing what you love, which is making your own music rather than making other people's music. And so a lot of this podcast is to speak to people like you, is to speak to creatives because it's so easy, especially in the social media world, to just like social media tells us what success is. It's like, oh, if you get numbers, then you are successful. If you get this, then you are successful. And that's like literally my mission to change that.
So toxic. So toxic.
Though, what was that like time period like though? Like when you were blowing up, did like it feel good? Did it like build?
Oh, it was insane. Like, I mean, I was so young, and I was in, like, I just have so many memories. Like, for example, last day of 8th grade, and people were signing yearbooks. I was just sitting out like on the picnic table in the recess area, and there was like a line of like 50 to like 70 kids just wanting my autograph. Like, I mean, and I hate like sounding like stuck up or anything, but like, I really just kind of like the shit in middle school.
But you were like a kid, like I can't even blame you for. I would have taken it that way
no,
too.
exactly. Like
but
I always tried my best to be as modest as I could, because like I obviously like I was in a place where people could be like, oh, like she's so full of herself because of all this. So I really tried to avoid that. But I mean, like I would go to the mall and people would be like, oh, are you Hannah Geller? Can I have your picture? Can I have your autograph? And I was like, what is this?
Wait, so though I have a question. Those when you described the 8th grade people lining up to sign your yearbook, were those are like kids in your school?
Yeah.
That's like almost weird too, because it's like there's a different type of validation from like a stranger at the mall than like, all the kids in your school. You're like the most popular girl in school.
It was weird. I like even walking through the hallway, like people would just kind of like look at me, and I was just like this weird like celebrity back then. But I think about that time in my life, and I can't even believe that was real.
Like it almost feels fake.
Yeah, and I felt like I had almost every opportunity presented to me in that moment, because I went to Nashville to make a music video. I won this like singing contest. I went to LA to do a like a workshop with Christina Perri. I was asked to go on The Voice, like all this stuff at such a.
Why did you go on The Voice?
I didn't.
Why?
I didn't want that young. I don't like, kind of like this. I don't like musical success being determined by like winning or losing a show. And looking back at it, it would have been good exposure.
Yeah, it would have been cool, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like if I didn't make it past the first round, I just would have felt horrible about myself. When in actuality, it's just because of 4 judges.
Because thoughts. Well, you know, everyone who goes on that show is like world-class talent. So it's like, and then you're world-class talent, but 4 people decide you're not as good as someone else, and you might feel horrible about yourself. And
exactly.
Especially if you're like a little kid, that's probably gonna stick with you. I mean, I'm surprised you had the like. Was that like your parents who told you not to do it, or were you able to like make that decision?
It was kind of a collective decision between my parents and I. They always wanted me. I'm their only child, so like they kind of just protected me a lot, like with their heart and soul, and they didn't really want me exposed. Even though I was exposed on Instagram, I feel like it's a lot different when you're on, TV and in front of all those like harsh judges, like Simon Cowell being like, "You stink, go home." Like,
you probably got some wild DMs though and comments on Instagram.
Oh, I got like marriage proposals to death threats. Like I got everything in between. Like
what were the death threats for?
I don't know. It's just the average hate comments. People would comment like stupid things like, her mouth is so big when she sings, like just this weird, like I don't know. And I was 13, so it's like also I couldn't really like take the hate back then. Like,
would you like, so say someone says like, oh, your mouth is big, would you like go home feeling like, damn, looking at your mouth and like,
I mean I would, because especially when you're in that age, like you're finally becoming like, or I was finally becoming like more of like a woman than a kid, and that's like the time of your life when you're just, everything about yourself becomes so insecure, and people making comments like that was like, oh shit. And then I ended up always just like deleting all the comments, because it just made me feel better about myself not to see them. But
really, that's so interesting. With the kids at your school, like you said, like people would look at you in the hallways and the yearbook thing, but did that also like translate, like let's take like school dances. Were they like guys always trying, like were you like the girl, the guys always trying to take to dances and stuff? Or
not really, honestly. Like my like boy relationships throughout like high school weren't even like that great. Like I wasn't really that dream singer girl.
Yeah, that's interesting. That does kind of lead into something else I want to ask you though, is I find it very interesting that, and maybe I actually can't tell what the motivation behind your music is, because when I listen, it's so like psychedelic and like trance that like I only pick up on some words. Like I get some words and then I'm like, but it's not like very clear in the sense like some songs are so obviously about something.
Yeah.
But I do want to ask you your thoughts on what role does like love play in making music?
Definitely a big one. I'd say pretty much the majority of my songs are about that because usually like when some type of relationship, like not even a boy relationship, but just any type of relationship like gets to me and like eats at me, that's when I'm the most inspired to like create, because I'll get into these like funks where I'm just like sad, and then I'm like, okay, I gotta make a song to show this guy that like I'm the shit, like I gotta
Dude, well, you know what's interesting, I have a couple of things to say about that. The first thing, I think it just actually I'll ask about that later, but I went through a little stint where I made music actually.
Oh, really?
And it was a freshman year at our college that we both went to, and I remember I would like to this girl or whatever, and something would happen, like I told her I liked her and she didn't like me back, and I would literally like get excited because I was like, that's a song.
yeah. Oh,
And it's almost like, I was thinking about this too before the podcast, it's like art, it doesn't necessarily have to be music, it could be podcast or stand-up comedy. When you do like a form of art, it makes bad things good. So like, I'll give you an example. Is like, say like someone, like a really extreme example, someone comes to rob me with a knife and like I get away and it's like a really traumatic situation. Like if you don't do art, then that's just a traumatic situation. But if you're a musician, then that becomes a song. If you're a stand-up comedy person, then that becomes a bit. If you're a podcaster, that becomes a story. So it's like, it is really interesting when you think of it.
no, totally. It's some like, I kind of take for granted I did have a very good life growing up, like loving parents, very supportive. So it is sometimes hard to like dig deep and find like those traumas in my life that I can write about. And that's kind of, it does make it hard to write lyrics. Like lyrics are definitely not my strong suit. I definitely put the music first. Like I'll usually come up with the entire instrumental, like the guitar licks, the melody that I'll just like hum, like random words to. And then the lyrics are the last, and it's hard.
I think that's good though. I think it speaks in your music because like you listen to your music and you're like, wow, these instrumentals are like so amazing. So it's like, it comes out. But yeah, I was gonna talk about like, why, like half of all movies are about love. Half of all songs are about love, and it's like, it's such a universal trait, even from people who like write about trauma or they write about like whatever. I just feel like love's like so universal. I don't know if you have an answer, but like, why do you think that is?
It's hard, but that's a very good point. I think it's because love is like almost like one of the biggest emotions that you kind of gravitate towards. Like, I don't know, like when my heart is broken, that's like all I think about. Like every single good thing that comes around in my life, I just don't care about it because like this feeling that I have for this person is just so strong. So I feel like love is really one of the strongest feelings, which makes it a great place to, you know, turn into art.
Yeah, that's good. I want to ask you something, because you were talking about how when you were like, you were raised really well. I was also raised really well, but I would listen to all these podcasts or not necessarily podcasts, interviews, stories about artists I looked up to, whether it's a sports player or just really successful people. And they always tell this story about like, my mom was broke and we went and we had no money, and then I became an NFL player and I saved the day. And I always think about that. And it's funny because I've had like, certainly like a lot of people around me have had traumas, and I've like been around a lot of trauma, but I didn't really go through that hard of trauma. And it almost made me feel like a fraud. And I want to ask you that, because I kind of was getting a vibe that you had a similar feeling. Is like, do you almost feel like oh,
it'd be easier.
Like, yeah, it's like,
if I had some trauma to deal with. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a terrible thing to ask for, but I mean,
it's not like you're asking for it, but the issue is not that you need trauma. The issue is that, like in success stories, trauma is glorified.
Yes.
So you think you think like, and it's almost like I'm only sharing this because I know that someone there relates, but you feel bad sharing it because you feel like, oh, like no
sound
one
privileged. And
it's like you sound privileged, or like someone sitting there, you feel like you can't say it because someone with trauma is like, you wouldn't want my trauma. But it's not that like, yeah, we actually wouldn't want your trauma, but it's just acknowledging that like a lot of great art comes from trauma.
Exactly. I mean, I even look at like college essays, for example. Like I feel like a lot of like the Harvard and like Stanford essays, it's like, oh, like I came from nothing with my family to this, and I mean that's amazing. Like that's amazing for them, but it definitely can be disadvantaged.
It almost makes you feel like it can make you feel like you don't deserve it, because you hear all these other people and you're like, well, this musician grew up with one mom and she was poor, and this musician grew up and his brother committed suicide, and you're like comparing yourself and you're like, well, why do I deserve to make it? And that was something I definitely felt for a long time, but now I definitely don't feel that way. And it's also like what is trauma? Like we get used to certain traumas, which is like, I feel like being broke is like a very common trauma, but it's like I went through a bunch of traumas. They're just not like the regular.
Oh, absolutely. Like things to some people that might seem like minor inconveniences, like depending on like how your mind works, it can seem like the worst thing in the world to you. Like
exactly. And like even if you're dropped in like some part of like rural Africa, like the traumas they have are probably completely different than the traumas we have, and it's like it's all like it goes back to like the comparison is the thief of joy. Like the issue is that you're looking at other people's traumas thinking that I should have those, but really like it's beautiful that we all have our own kind of problems.
Gives us all a unique story to base our art off of.
So, stage presence. You have a TikTok where it's like all these videos of you on like, it's like your kind of first performance, and then the next performance, and by the end of it, you're like dancing on the floor with your guitar.
Yeah.
What is that feeling like?
It was crazy to finally get to that point where I was completely comfortable, because I am definitely more of a shy person. I don't have a very outgoing presence unless I'm like close with somebody and have a deep connection with them. But yeah, I was definitely very shy. Thought I was gonna go up there, screw up, or just have a voice crack or whatever. But it's just consistency. The more that I did it, the more I was like, wait, this is so, like, I feel like also the type of music that I do, it's kind of, it doesn't matter if there's like mess ups, because it's not like your typical like pop, everything is like linear, like it's kind of already has like the psychedelic, has like the wobbly, like,
well, like I guess like if you even just use psychedelics as an example, which I haven't done psychedelics, so I guess
neither have I. I'm a fraud.
I can't really speak on it, but like my understanding is that your visuals become distorted. So it's like you see something, it becomes distorted, and your music is almost like that in the way that it's like I was saying earlier, you can't hear every lyric. The song sounds different every time you listen to it. It's like and so when you mess up on stage, people might just think that's like,
oh, absolutely. Like on my last House of Blues show, the guitar that I used was my friend's guitar that I have never played before. Yeah. And I played it for the first time on stage. Absolutely horrible idea. It was out of tune. And so for my song Approval, I was playing like this intro where it's just me and guitar. Like there's no bass, no drums. It's just me. So you can hear every note. It was so out of tune. And I was just like it was just eating at me like the whole time, because I couldn't like turn the knob mid-song. But then like looking back at the videos, I was like, wait, this kind of like out of tune, like it kind of works to my music, like the distorted, like not, perfect. Like I feel like it kind of in a way, which is a nice crunch to have.
I mean, it's awesome that you were able to feel that way, because a lot of artists, I have friends who make music and they just like, I'll hear their song, they'll literally be asking me, they'll be like, listen for this. And I'll be like, listening. I'm like, I don't hear the mess up. And they'll be like, but I hear it.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Huge perfectionist.
Yeah. And I guess that is part of being great, is like being a perfectionist, because as a listener, I might not notice, but like fixing those imperfections. Millions of people are making music. So if you're someone who cares about every little detail, then you're putting yourself in front of millions of people who don't care about every little detail.
And that's why like my stage presence was so scary for me at first, because like I feel like my music, like I won't release a song unless it is perfect. Like I will go over. I think the reason it sounds so auto-tuned, because I literally will sing like every single phrase over and over and over and over again until it's perfect to my standards, because I have such high standards for myself. And like if there is a note that's a little bit off pitch, I'll just re-record it, which is probably unhealthy because it really takes a toll on me. And like Jamie said, when I'm working on a song, I'm just away in my hole for the longest time, and then I come out and I'm all happy and I'm like, okay, I have free time now. But yeah, I understand how hard it is for other musicians, because I go same thing.
Ask you something.
Yeah.
Is it when you say like, oh, like if I don't like how something is, I'll re-sing it over and over and over again. Is it ever perfect? Do you ever feel like it's actually perfect?
It can get close, but it's never perfect. Like even the song Approval I'm releasing, like I worked on it for, I want to say 100 hours. Yeah. And I worked on it. Oh my God. It's intense. But like I sent it off to DistroKid. It's gonna go out in 3 weeks, and like I'm still listening to it like after I already released it, and like there's like minute, tiny things that I'm like, oh, I should have changed that. But I feel like if you just my inspiration, Kevin Parker, he like had the same question, like, is it ever perfect to you? And it's like, no, but like it kind of can't be, because if you keep striving for that perfectionism, you're just never gonna get it, and you're just gonna drive yourself nuts. And there has to be a point where you're just like, okay, this is still amazing. It just has to go out into the world and have to start my next project.
Interesting. As you're explaining that, I'm looking at your tattoo that says "Let It Happen."
Oh yeah.
What does that mean?
It is. Speaking of Kevin Parker, so my biggest inspiration for my music is Tame Impala. Yeah. And Let It Happen is my favorite song by him. And that's about it. Nothing really special. I mean,
it's not, I was kind of thinking it was like how you're saying it will never be perfect. It's like, let it go.
Yeah, definitely. That can, I mean, yeah, after I got it, I kind of thought about that too. I was like, oh, like it is like, because sometimes I get scared that people look at it and they think it's just like a cheesy, like live, laugh, love type of like thing. But
oh, okay, I see what you're
definitely saying. So yeah, like not a lot of people know that it's actually like just my favorite song. But
I mean, that's a cool meaning in itself. It's your favorite song.
Absolutely. And I mean, yeah, I am a big perfectionist, and sometimes I just have to tell myself like, yeah, just let it happen. Let it be.
Yeah. It's like, well, I mean, I've noticed this not in like, even when I did YouTube, where like I'll say something and I'll be like, all right, that wasn't good enough, so I'll re-record it. And I'll say something and I'll be like, that was what I wanted to say, but I liked part of this one better and part of this one better, so let me do it a third time. And then I do it a third time and I'm like, well, this one's better, but I like a part in here and I like a part. And then by like the fourth or fifth time I say it, I'm like, well, it just doesn't even sound authentic because they can tell that I've said it over.
Yeah, you just sound robotic.
Like, it's never perfect. There's always like a little thing. And that's what I like about the podcast, is that it's like, I don't cut anything out of my podcast except like maybe in the very beginnings or the very ends, like just to trim it. But it's like, I don't cut anything. And it's like, it's so much more freeing. I don't worry. It's like,
yeah, that's awesome. Everything's just real.
Yeah, it's just real. But I mean, that's the luxury of doing a podcast. You certainly couldn't do that with music.
Yeah. I mean, when you play it live, you kind of have to. Yeah. And over time, I've grown to like, you know, if I do have those voice cracks or like out of tune strings, like just got to go with it. And people are still going to.
What's the meaning behind Approval? Sounds like an interesting song title.
It's about, you know, just I've had many people in my life that have been like, oh, like you can't like full send music as a career, like, or even people like, I know that you said something about like my lyrics not always like coming through clearly, which is honestly to me totally fine, because for me, which may be like a bad thing to say, my music, I feel like my voice kind of speaks more for itself than the lyrics do. At least that's kind of my intention. Like the emotion and just like the tone that I have in my voice is kind of just like this like instrument that I want, rather than like a storytelling tool. So people would come to me and be like, oh, like I can't hear what you're saying, like this type of music is never gonna make it, like why are you like going to school as a music major, blah blah blah, like, and I'm like, I don't need your approval to do what I love. And basically that whole song is about just other people's viewpoints of what I do and how I don't really care. Yeah. And I'm just going to do what I love and what makes me happy at the end of the day. And I'm going to make my art, you know, how I want it to sound. And yeah.
I will say, first of all, I will say that I definitely believe in you. I think your music is 100% good enough. And good enough is not even the right word. That sounds condescending. Your music is good, and you will make it if you keep doing it. So
Appreciate it.
you have my approval. But I do love that message. I wanted to dig into something you said, which was yesterday I was listening to my friend. He just put his whole first album on DistroKid, and we were singing it in the car in celebration of the album, and I messed up a word. He never corrected me on it. Like, I'd sang the song hundreds of times with him.
Yeah.
Never corrected me with it, and I asked him about a lyric, and then he told me, like, oh, you sang the wrong lyric, but I never correct you. And he was telling me that he loves when people mess up his lyrics, because it's like, that means he created art where, like, the listener can make it their own.
Yeah.
Which is like, and I feel like, when I say like, oh, I can't always understand your music, it's like, in a way, it's a good thing, because so many people can listen to it and they can hear what they want to hear and make their own story out of it. That was one thing I was going to say. The other thing I was going to say is that I interviewed a DJ, and I usually feel like when you're like obsessed with an artist, like, I was asking myself, why is it? And the conclusion I came to was that it's generally for the lyrics, where it's like, if someone's singing about heartbreak and I have heartbreak, I relate to those lyrics, so that makes me love that artist. Mm-hmm. But I was like asking this DJ, well, why do people love certain DJs? Why? And he was kind of explaining to me that, like, instrumentals and like the way your music sounds, even without lyrics, can like speak for itself, and it can have a message. And I never really thought about it, but it is so true. Like, I could listen to one of your instrumentals and it would like put me in a certain mood. And I do think it's a bit harder, like, with like pop music, it's very easy to understand the message. It's like, oh, this song's about heartbreak, or this song's about depression. And with like DJ music, which is so funny that I'm comparing DJ music and psychedelic rock, because they're like two different worlds, but it is kind of, I would say it takes a little bit more effort to like find that deeper meaning, but it is like, there is so like you can have a strong message in just the instrumental alone.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sorry. That's exactly what I try to do in my music. Like, Tame Impala, even Tosh Sultana, like, their lyrics kind of just slur together sometimes, and they don't mean anything to me, but the way that they can just like build, like, approval has a lot of like building up and then like going back down and then like boom, boom, boom. Like, it's like so much just like tension and release that I feel like even if there was no words, or if I was just going like the whole time, like, you would still feel something from it. And that's what I really admire from artists, when I can just feel it inflicts an emotion just because of their music, because that's kind of why I choose certain artists, is based off of their music and not, their words.
Well, it's interesting that you said there's like another thing too, where like with copying, like, it's bad to copy. Like, you don't want to be Tame Impala. And I heard something that I thought was really awesome. It's like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like, you don't want to be Tame Impala, but you want to make people feel how Tame Impala made them feel.
Yeah.
And so I guess I'll ask you, do you have like what, in a perfect world, what does someone listening to your song feel? What do you want them to feel?
I just want them to feel like, honestly, euphoria, because
dude, that's a great way to describe music.
That's the goal, because I mean, I hate to keep talking about Tame Impala, but without him, I don't think I'd even be here. Like, during COVID, that's kind of when I discovered psychedelic rock, like Pink Floyd and all this other stuff, like Psychedelic Porn Compass, another one of my favorite bands. Like, I would just go on these drives like through the country, because I'm from Wisconsin, and there's just like just flat, just grass everywhere, and gas was 99 cents. So all I did during quarantine was just drive and discover new music and figure out what kind of music I wanted to make. And like Tame Impala's music, I would just listen to every single one of his songs, like on repeat, like just every album through. And I just felt this insane, just like sense of like, I don't even know how to explain. Like, it wasn't even just like a feeling in my head. It was a feeling in my whole like soul and just like bones, that it would just like make me feel crazy. And I would love people to feel that way about my music. I mean, feeling that they can't even describe.
I was listening to your music on the car ride here, and I think I was like blasting it like very loudly, and I do think that euphoric's probably the best word to describe it. And that's awesome because like different music lives in different places. There's music you listen to when you're sad. There's music you listen to when you need to get hyped. And like your music, I honestly think euphoric is like the best way. It like almost puts you in like another world.
Like a trance.
I want to ask you, why is listening to music in the car? Why does listening to music in the car hit different?
It's because you're encased by it. It's just, it surrounds you. Like, instead of just, headphones, it's just, in your ears. But, like, when you're in a car, it's just every single, like, angle is just kind of coming down at you. And that's so cool to me. Like, sometimes, like, I'll actually mix my music in my car because I can just hear it from every single, like, angle. And I'm just kind of, like, in this box that is just full of music. And it's just...
I once heard someone describe it as, like, and it's kind of what you were saying, is that if you listen to the music in earbuds, you're only taking it in with your ears. But it's funny because you don't think like, oh, my hand can listen to music or my feet can listen to music. But if someone touches you, you feel it. And music is sound waves. It is like a feeling, like you feel bass, you feel. And so, yeah, when you put on headphones or earplugs, you are like limiting a big portion of the listening. It's like your body feels music.
Yeah, or like when you're in a big like event and you can hear like the bass like in your heart, like that's such a cool feeling too. Like you're actually physically, like the music is making your body do something.
It's like, well, why would people even, if there was no difference, why would people even go to live events? It's like, if you can watch a game on TV, why would you go in person? It's because there's like the atmosphere, like, I don't want to sound too woo-woo, but that's like vibrations and feelings are like real, like you can feel them.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
Yeah, that's interesting. I did all my research on you on TikTok, which I don't know if that's bad, but...
No, I think that's a good way.
You had a TikTok, though, which I can relate to this a little bit, so I guess I have to ask you about it.
Yeah.
Where it was all sorority pictures, and then it cuts, and it's all like you rocking out with your band, and you said, like, this version of me is greater than that version of you. Why do you feel that way?
It's honestly, a big part of it is the people that surrounded me.
Yeah.
And another part is just me doing what I love and having every moment in the world for what I love. Like, when I was in a sorority, I knew from day 2 that was not me. Like, freshman year, it was COVID, so didn't really get a chance to meet people.
Yeah.
So sophomore year, when everything opened up, I was like, okay, good chance to, make friends and everything. And I was in it. I do still have some amazing friends to this day that I still talk to. But it was so not for me. It was just so time consuming. I couldn't put everything that I had into music. It was like I had my school and my sorority. I didn't like my sorority. Oh, I
don't know what it was. Some sort of bug.
And it wasn't me. And so I knew about after 2 months, like I was going to drop this. My parents were kind of like, no, Hannah, stay in it. A couple months later, I met my best friends in the entire world. One of them who's standing right there, Jim. Hi, Jim. But I met my best friends, James and Jamie, and we, like, they're both musicians, and we clicked so heavily. Like, I'd hang out with them every single day. We'd be just doing music, and I was like, oh my God, these are the type of people that I've been looking for, like, in this school. And then through them, I met other friends, and, like, today I just have, like, an amazing, like, beautiful friend group. Like, I have so many people that I can rely on that I know that would, like, take a bullet for me, and I would do the same for them. And so, well, that's really sidetracked from the whole music thing. But, like, at the end of the day, I'm so much happier now, and, like, the sorority could not provide me with that, nor could it provide me with the time that I could actually, spend to create. And being in a band was, like, the coolest thing that I could ever do, or that I've ever done, just because of, seeing people's faces.
It's like
doing what I love.
I mean, it is the interesting. Do you feel though, like by doing that, you were able to like realize how much you liked music? Because it's like when you took up something that, or like when you started something that took so much of your time, you like realized that you would rather be doing something more.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like sometimes you don't realize how great things are in life until you experience things that aren't as great.
I was in a frat at the same school as you.
Yeah.
And again, I don't like have much like you. Like I made some great friends, and I don't. Very similar to you. Like from the earliest days, I knew that I'm not a frat kid, but I also like. there was a lot of like learning lessons and moments there that I do feel like stuck with me my whole life. And yes, especially like I'm trying to encapsulate almost exactly what you said, but especially the like doing it and knowing that like, oh, I would rather be creating, I'd rather be making art, is like, it's very like freeing too, because you also see like all these people aren't doing it, they're not making art. It's like a way to make yourself feel different and stand out. And I definitely at times felt like the weird kid there, but I also felt like, hey, this is telling me that like if I have such a strong desire that I shouldn't be doing these things and I should be creating, then that's like a good thing. I don't know what I'm saying is making sense.
No, absolutely. I'm like, even when I had like my waitressing jobs in high school, like I would be like running food bags, like washing dishes, and be like, oh my God, this is not like, I just want to be like writing music right now. And like, I feel like being put in positions like that where you're just doing something that you don't love, it really just makes you, it kind of just glorifies like in a good way.
So
what you do love.
Actually, that sparks an interesting question.
Yeah.
If like you had some divine intervention, you could see the future, and you knew that you would never make $1 from music, like from this point on, you'd never make $1 from music, would you still do it?
Yeah, I do it a lot for myself.
Yeah.
I feel very proud of my music, and when I have a finished product and I'm playing in the car, even if I'm alone, I feel proud of my work, and I feel like I did something with my life. And I mean, it is definitely better when you can share that with other people. But for the most part, I really just do it for me. I definitely have not made a lot of money from music. It would be the goal to sustain a life from it. But if it doesn't work out, I'm still definitely going to like do it my entire life, and probably take up like interior design or something, because that's my other passion. I love
interior design.
Yes.
Let's go.
I probably have one of like, not to sound stuck up, but I probably have one of like the nicest decorated like college apartments that
Can we put a picture of Hannah's apartment?
Yes.
Right here.
So that's the backup plan. I don't want to have a backup plan because I want a full set.
Don't have a backup plan. That's good. You can become a world-class musician and then just interior design your nice house. That will be the backup plan.
Kind of a goal with music is so I can become rich, so I can pay for cool home decor.
Yeah.
It really just, it makes me so happy, like to have like a home that's decorated nice.
So I have to ask you, because the message is soul wealth, and Jamie was mentioning earlier that you will sometimes that you will disappear into a hole. And I always say that the message of this podcast is to change the way you measure success by your relationships and memories. Do you almost feel that you put your worth like in your work? Because like you disappear from your friends and you kind of like cut those people. I don't want to say cut them off. Like you come back after you make the music.
Yeah.
Do you ever like think that's unhealthy, or like that it makes you unhappy to just disappear like that?
Yeah, I'd say sometimes it does. I'm the type of person who I always look at the end goal, and that's kind of what inspires me to keep going. And so like when I have these days like where I'm working, I'm trying to mix a song. Shout out Bryce for mixing my music because it saved me so many hours. But when I would mix things myself and I was getting frustrated because I don't know how to mix, like I would just, I was not enjoying it. Like in those moments, I was like, I don't want to do music. I hate this. This is terrible. And I would like just miss my friends. I would skip meals because I would just literally put like my craft before like even my own health. So in moments like that, not the greatest, but I always like look towards the end goal, and I'm like, okay, I know that I'm gonna have a killer song after this, and I'm gonna feel so good about myself. So I just kind of keep pushing, and since I am a perfectionist, I know that the end goal is going to be something that I am very proud of. So
I have to challenge you again here, which is how there's this idea of destination happiness, which I'll give you like a podcast example. Is like, I'll be happy when my podcast has 1 million listeners. That's like an end goal. Do you feel, but what a lot of people report is they get their end goals, they get their 1 million subscribers, their big song, their money, and then it doesn't fulfill them, or they make another goal, and then they make another goal, they make another goal, and then what they do is they have these like moments of happiness where it's like, oh, I'm just gonna chase this one goal, and then when I hit it, I'm going to chase a new goal, but they're not really enjoying the journey.
Yeah.
Like, everyone hears the quote, enjoy the journey, but like, do you feel like you're enjoying the journey? Because you kind of described to me that like destination happiness.
Yeah, I mean, definitely I will look back sometimes at where I was years ago. Even, like you said, even though I had like very, very much larger numbers when I was like 13, I look at what I'm doing now and I'm like, oh my gosh, 13-year-old me would be so proud of myself now. And I think that it definitely, like, there are those moments of happiness. Like my first show with my band, like, was just this insane feeling. My first, like, the House of Blues show, it was like my biggest crowd yet. Like, that was just an insane feeling. And when I'm getting these funks that I feel like, I don't know if I can do this anymore, or I'm so stressed out, I look at those moments like where I'm happy and I have like that sense of euphoria. I'm like, okay, like, I'm gonna have more of those, and I just really need to take time to just think about how my teenage high school self would look at me now, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'd be really proud of myself.
That's like they say, comparison is the thief of joy, but I think the good comparison is to yourself. Like, when you look back and you can say like, yeah, I think that's the metric you want to be. If you feel like you were better than who you used to be, that's good.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, if I don't have, billion Spotify like streams and stuff, like, I feel like I'm just still gonna be proud of myself.
You seem like, I mean, this is just a podcast. I don't really know you, but you seem happy. You seem like bubbly and fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was just weird.
No, it's
but
okay.
I did want to ask you, I don't know if you'd be willing to do this, if you'd be willing to just sing a little bit into the microphone.
That's my tick.
What's a... Oh.
All my friends know this. I have like these like random ticks. My biggest tick is like, I'll just riff. Like,
okay. That's
like, they hear it all the time. Or like yesterday I did it like at 10 o'clock. My friend was like, oh, that's the first time you did that all day. Good job.
That's funny.
But yeah, if you want to...
Wait, is there... I'm trying to think of a song. What's like a big song you've covered?
Big song. Oh, God.
Could you do like a chorus that they would know?
Jim, what songs have we done? Are You Gonna Be My Girl? That one? Wait, come here, sing with me.
Yeah, Jim. Bro, just come make noises.
We sing karaoke at a bar together.
Oh, this is perfect.
Jim, my best friend.
Jim, you can hop. That's kind of an awkward seat, but yeah, if you can hop right. But Hannah can move over.
Yeah, I can move.
You can share her mic with her. There we go.
Well, like, okay. I could see you home with me, but you with another man, yeah.
Wow.
I know we ain't got much to say before I let you get away.
Bum, bum, bum.
Oh no, did I turn the power off? I pressed the button. Are we good?
No, it's still on.
Okay, we're good. Okay.
Said, are you gonna be my girl?
Yeah, Jim.
I had to be drunk to have the confidence to sing with her. That's how good she is.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she's amazing.
It was fun, but it's fun to sing.
It was really fun, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm really happy you did that. I usually run my podcast through an AI, so I need to make sure at that part that it doesn't ruin your voice.
Oh. Okay.
I mean, but dude, your
The
voice
light
is
turned green and went from yours is red.
No, yeah, I have a,
Oh,
this.
okay.
I fucked something up, but it's fine. It won't mess anything up.
Awesome.
Actually, since you're here, do you want to keep singing? You don't have to, but I can ask you some questions.
I can answer some questions. Yeah.
Some questions.
Yeah.
Bo, you go.
Hello.
Hello. What should I ask you? I want to ask you. I should ask you the same question I just asked her, which is, do you think her disappearing into like her hole to make music is a good thing or a bad thing?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both, honestly. Yeah. Because one, yeah, I don't see my best friend for a while, but at the same time, I know that she's like, it's not like she's just rotting away in her room. She's putting the work in. Like every second of every day is spent perfecting her art, perfecting her craft. It's like never just like she's gone. She's probably like eating chips or something.
So
yeah.
When you think about her song Approval, and she talks about like all those people that don't believe in her or that she should have a backup plan, what do you say about that? Because you've seen how she works.
I Honestly, like, I think she definitely has the potential to do it. Like, I say that about all my friends too, but that's because I genuinely mean it.
Yeah.
I gave myself that backup plan.
Yeah.
But I know that, like, she definitely puts in the work, so you could see that she cares about it. And it's usually the people that really care about it that make it, not the people that are just like, oh, I'll do it for fun, see what happens. It's the people that go full in.
I mean, I'm the same way. Like, I personally believe all my friends are going to be successful. And I think that's like, that really is the best way to live. You don't want to be someone who, like, I feel like it's good. I'm glad that you said, like, I feel that way about all my friends, because it's so important to be like, you're like a light. You're someone who, like, makes their people believe in themselves.
Yeah.
Which is like, I honestly feel like that's one of the best purposes you can have on earth. Is it's just so lame that, like, so many people just resort to like gossiping or always focusing on the what if, on the negative side, which is like, I like to talk about like moving in faith versus moving in fear, where it's like kind of what Hannah said is like, you either pursue a backup plan because you have fear that your plan A won't work, or you pursue no backup plan because you have faith that your plan A will work. And I feel like when you can make more of those decisions from in faith rather than in fear, that you'll be more successful.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. That's something that a lot of people have to make that decision. Like,
I always thought it was interesting because you play, I know I kind of asked you this before, but maybe they'll find it interesting. You play in bands for solo artists, so you yourself aren't like really in a spotlight.
I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah. Can you talk, because everyone on social media wants to be the star. Everyone wants to be the hero. Why are you fine being the backup?
Because for me, I've grown up with music for a long time, since I was young. Not as successful as Hannah, but I just love to perform, because I know that while it's not my name on the poster, I might connect with a few people. Yeah. And my whole goal with music is to make people feel something. Yeah. Doesn't matter whose name it's attached to. If I'm on a stage and I lock eyes with somebody on the stage and they start smiling or they seem like they're having a great time, I know that I've done my job.
People definitely feel stuff from Jim's performances because he gets into it. He has the best stage presence I've ever seen. Dude, he's insane.
But that's so, like, that's literally so good. I don't know if you were listening earlier, but the message of the podcast is like changing the way you measure success. And you're literally telling me here that you measure success by the way you make others feel. And I think that is like the greatest success in life.
Yeah, that's my main goal with music, just to make somebody feel something.
And it also says that, sorry to cut you off, but it also says that, like, it shows that you truly love music because you're not doing it to be the star. You're doing it because you love to perform.
Yeah, like honestly, one of my biggest fears is to be famous, because I don't want people following me with a camera. I don't want people like knowing every single intricate detail of my life. Yeah. I just want to do what I love and have other people love what I do.
Wow, dude, that's a quote. That's a clip right there. Hannah, how do you feel about, like, say your dreams come true, but everyone falls around every part of your life, the opposite of what you think?
It would be an adjustment. It definitely comes with the cost. I feel like if you're willing to, like, put all your, what's the term? Your apples in one basket. That's not eggs in one carton basket.
Eggs in a basket. I think it's all eggs in a basket.
If you're willing to do that and you want to get to that level, the paparazzi and stuff definitely comes around with it. It's definitely, I'd say, more of like a negative price to pay, but at the end of the day, I feel like it's okay. It's worth it. I had a little touch of that, like, experience when I was younger, and it was like, it's kind of fun. I mean, as like a long-term thing, I don't know. My dream is to be like not a huge like Taylor Swift. Like, I would love to just be like a underground, like the people that do follow me are more of like a cult following, but it's not like when I'm in public, like I can still go out like on a date or like grab coffee with a friend and just have peace. Well, so
you're probably pursuing a good niche then, because psychedelic rock is not on the levels of pop. So yes, even if you're like, I mean, Taylor Paul is obviously really famous, but even if you're like the most famous psychedelic rock person, you're still like not anywhere near like a Justin Bieber.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
That's
yeah,
good.
like if you see Taylor Swift walking down the street, anybody's gonna know that's
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
But if you see Kevin Parker walking down the street, personally, I would not recognize who he is.
I wouldn't recognize him either. So, I always end the podcast with the same question, and it's to kind of push the message of soul wealth, and that is, what do you want people to say about you when you die?
Hannah's music made me feel something. No, I want people to think. This is very cliche, but I feel like at the end of the day, I am a pretty nice person.
Yeah.
If anything, I can be a little too nice sometimes and maybe have people step on me, but I want to be, I want to be, oh, Hannah, that girl, she had, a lot going for her in like music and stuff, but at the end of the day, she was humble, she was a good person, she never let it get to her head. That's what I try to do now, and I want people, I would love that to come across people.
So now we'll have a wholesome ending. Give it back to Jamie.
Jim.
Actually, this is going to sound really dark, but it's also wholesome. Let's pretend Hannah died. What are you going to tell me about her?
She's all right, I guess. Nah.
Let's end. It's a wrap.
Cut to black. No, definitely that. Like, she was somebody that I could go to whenever I need to. She's somebody that I could hang out with, not sing a single word to, and then leave and feel fulfilled. Just being around her is just, this is one of my best friends for a reason.
She's a light.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's wrap it out there.
Yay!
Guys, Jamie, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you. Hannah.
Appreciate it. Thank
Awkward
you.
tree hugs.
Yes, it's okay.
All right, that's it. Let's see how long we did.
Ooh. And the whole time it wasn't